So that's the news from the front line. More attacks, more deaths. But diplomatically, where are things at? President Zelensky's charm offensive has worked in the West, Europe and North America firmly behind him. But here in India, there are few takers. You know the reason for that. Russia is a long-standing partner of New Delhi, so picking sides is out of the question. Having said that, Ukraine's actions have not helped their cause. Let me tell you what happened on Sunday. Ukraine's defense ministry posted this picture on social media. It's a cartoon of the Hindu goddess Kali. It shows the goddess in Marilyn Monroe's famous pose. You can guess what happened next. Indian users on social media were outraged. They called it demeaning, insulting and Hinduphobic. All true. But in a pure political sense, do you know what it was? Unnecessary. 5 minutes of research would have prevented this controversy. In fact, forget research. Common sense would have prevented it. The Ukrainian government is now in damage control. Their deputy foreign minister issued a clarification, and this is what she said, I'm quoting, "We regret the Ukrainian defense ministry's tweet depicting Hindu goddess Kali in a distorted manner. Ukraine and its people respect the unique Indian culture and highly appreciate India's support." Too little, too late. And I'm not talking about this cartoon fiasco. I'm talking about Ukraine's overall India policy. For 3 decades, it was on autopilot. Kiev never bothered to cultivate good ties with India. But once Russia invaded, realization dawned. Ukraine needed India's support to isolate Russia. But that's not how geopolitics works. Bilateral relations require years of focus and investment. Kiev did neither. Think back to 1998, when India tested nuclear weapons in Pokhran, Ukraine criticized it. Just to be clear, Ukraine was not the only one. The US was New Delhi's biggest critic back then. Yet look at where India-US relations are today. Miles ahead of India-Ukraine relations. That's the investment and focus I was talking about. Same with their support to Pakistan. Ukraine has been selling weapons to Islamabad for 3 decades. Total shipments, more than $1.6 billion. Reports say Pakistan is repaying the favor. There are reports of rockets, tanks and ammunition being sent to Ukraine. Unconfirmed, but important reports. Would this defense partnership have unsettled India? Yes, but again, Ukraine wasn't alone. Pakistan's arsenal is filled with Western weapons. So I come back to my first assessment. What Ukraine did to India, the West has also done. Criticized the nuclear tests, criticized the Kashmir policy, and sold weapons to Pakistan. Yet India has excellent relations with the West. What does that tell you? That Western countries made efforts to reshape their ties with India, Ukraine never did. They could never offer India anything strategic. Neither powerful weapons, nor political support on Kashmir, nor an expanding people-to-people exchange. And guess who did? Russia did. They criticized the nuclear tests in 1998 too, but they never joined the sanctions. In 2019, when Kashmir's statehood was revoked, Russia did not meddle. They called it India's internal matter. The fact is, Ukraine's past is haunting its relations with India in the present. I'll give an example of it. Last month, Kiev sent its deputy foreign minister to India, the same minister who apologized for the cartoon. She got 2 books from India's Minister of State for External Affairs. Guess what they were about? The history of Kashmir. Coincidence? Well, there's no such thing in diplomacy. Which brings us to the present day. Would things have been different if Ukraine had invested more in this relationship? If they'd stayed clear of Pakistan, or if they'd backed India on Kashmir? We can't say for sure, but Zelensky may have had more of New Delhi's attention. Maybe through more aid, or through peace negotiations, or maybe through the current G20 presidency. Remember, Ukraine is not part of the G20, but Kiev wants New Delhi to invite Zelensky to address virtually. So far, the government of India has been non-committal. In conclusion, let me say this. India's position on the war is less about Ukraine and more about Russia, and there is no disputing that. But that doesn't give Kiev a free pass. Their actions, or the lack of it, have not helped their cause. This offensive cartoon is the latest example. It reflects a lack of understanding about Indian sentiments and feelings. And this is the result of years of policy neglect.